You got it. We're rolling. Go for it, Jason.
All right. Well, thank you very much for all the help. Couldn't do it without you. All right. Hey, welcome to the show. What's all the hype? This is an exciting day. The holidays are upon us, and I know that everyone's excited to talk about more real estate. Maybe not. Well, we're going to do it anyway. Today is about the chaos of real estate and some success protocol I think you're going to need in 2021. So I'm going to go over kind of the chaos of our industry right now and what's going on. Two, I'm going to bring you some success protocol suggestions, things that I've been taught, things that I possibly have I've learned over the years, plus some coaching that I get from my own very own coach. And then I've got bonus material at the very end, which is going to be fun, overcoming some items that will help you with some of the protocols that we can put in place for 2021. I think they're really, really important. So let's get started. If there's any questions throughout the show, then Deb will help us out and just reach out and interrupt anytime you want, because I know I've never learned anything by me talking too much. So anyway, let's talk about the chaos of real estate and what I'm seeing in the marketplace right now. So I get a lot of questions from people that are just getting into the business, people that have been in the business for a short period of time, and people that have been in the business for a little over 3 to 5 years that haven't seen kind of many downturns before in their business. And, hey, Jason, what are some of the things you're seeing that are different from 2007 than what we're seeing right now, besides obviously the coronavirus and COVID-19? And, do I think that things are going to change and so forth? So I just kind of look to my coaches and people I listen to and some of the information that I picked up along the way. And I was around in 07. I was around 01. I was around 97, but that's not important right now. What's important is that the difference between 07 and now, there's two things that I learned, I think, that really are different than when we had the problems in 07. One is that there's no subprime lending. The underwriting of loans right now is pretty sound. There's some things that come across, obviously some lenders do some non-conforming loans and some other, let's say bank statement loans, stated loans and so forth, but there's no subprime lending. And I think in 07, that was a huge part of it. I mean, I was part of origination back in the early 2000s and saw some of those underwriting guidelines and understand what they're talking about. And I got the information here from Richard Yoon, who's the economic guru with National Association of Realtors. And I think I agree with him. I think that a part of the chaos right now has nothing to do with the loan environment whatsoever. I think the underwriting is strong, and that's really different than it was in 07. So I think that's one difference. And I also think that in 07, we had a lot of new development. I think we had a lot of new construction. I think we were overdeveloped back then. And I think right now there's just a shortage of inventory, and there has been a shortage of inventory for quite a long time. So when I'm talking to people and I'm giving them kind of what's going on in the marketplace and what I see, I'm really excited about 2021 because I think those two things aren't here. We're not overdeveloped. We don't have too many places for people, and I think we need more. And I think that's something that we can put our confidence in, that we need to get more product for these people, because we need to do a good job of making sure that they get into homes or investments or whatever your specialty may be. So I think part of the chaos is understanding that it's not anywhere near what it was back in 07. Now, as the first quarter comes along and we see if some of these rent moratoriums and some evictions and things like that happen, we have to stay tuned to see how that's going to affect our industry. But people are going to need a place to live, and in residential real estate, that never goes away, whether they're going to be renting or getting into brand new purchases. I think that's something we need to keep an eye on as well. Some more of the chaos is about home prices and expectations. What are we going to see going into there? And I'm going to go off the information I got from the National Association of Realtors. And on the third and fourth quarter, they think they're going to see a 20% increase in sales volume from last year in 19. 20%, which is crazy. It's really crazy to see this kind of volume, but we didn't have much of a spring because of the coronavirus, and I think that leads to a lot of chaos. What's going to happen in the first quarter of 2021, and obviously the vaccines are producing a lot of hope and opportunity for people moving forward, and I'm really excited about that in my own business. But I think the chaos of all this, the politics, the election, I think there's a lot of people wondering how this is all going to affect our business. And it's chaotic. It's nuts. You can talk to some people that are talking about how they just want to go about business a certain way, like nothing ever happened. Some people are staying home and taking advantage of their opportunities of working from the house. So there's a lot of chaos because I think some of the messaging that we hear isn't consistent. There's just all sorts of things that aren't consistent. So what are we to do? Well, we just have to kind of keep our eyes on the fundamentals, I think. And I think we have to look at where demand's going to come from, you know, who's going to be buying homes and what are they going to be doing. And the National Association of Realtors says that the trading up business is going to be big. The trading up business is something that I think I agree with. I remember in a podcast I just recently listened to from Brian Buffini, he talked about the mini home shows where you had these little tiny homes that were for sale. And he said that those things, that's out the door. People want to have a bigger trade up home. Even the millennials that are coming out of their parents' home right now are going to occupy what, 35% of the market, or have been occupying 35% of the purchase market lately. And they're going to buy the generational home, a home that's big now and for later, or when their parents come to live with them or when they have kids. And I think that that's really going to impact the sales volume and where some of the sales may come from. And you know, that's a really niche market, and marketing to millennials and how much money they're going to have to spend on homes. But all this information is so chaotic. There's so much coming at you, and what data you keep track of. If you're into the business brand new, if you've been doing it just for a little while, there's a lot of data that you need to keep track of where to market your services and who you need to sell to and what listings you're looking for, what buyers you want to represent. And I think sometimes we get in the habit of being in a place where we just think that the business is going to come to us. And all the things that I'm talking about now they make sense to me. To some of you, they may not make sense because you're thinking, you know, subprime, what was that? Or, you know, how do you find out if we're underdeveloped, overdeveloped? You know, how is the housing market going to affect my business personally? Because I'm going after 3-bedroom condos, you know, in the city of Torrance. And what does that mean? So there's a lot of information that you can get from different places. The National Association of Realtors is a really good start. That's a great place to get. Of course, the MLS has tons of data on sales and so forth, so you can get information there. You can also get information from your local title rep. And that's really, really important because you can ask them questions like, well, I'm looking for this kind of data. What do you suggest? And I think going forward, in part I'll get into in some of the protocol for success for 2021, in my opinion, is going to be leveraging your vendors for information and data to help you organize your thoughts and moving forward for 2021 and sales you're going to have and what you're trying to accomplish. But I think when we look at the overall business of real estate, you know, I think Brian Buffini says it best. He says it's fair and hard, right? It's fair. It's a fair business. Doesn't matter who you are, you can make as much money as the next person. It's hard because there's a lot of levels of achievement that you have to find in order to get your first sale. I think some of the data that I've read lately is that the average realtor in their first year makes like $9,000. And we have a tremendous amount of turnover in our industry. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's really, really high. And some people come in and, you know, and they leave with a lot of debt because they spent their money on the wrong items. They didn't put the effort in. They didn't get a coach. They didn't do the right things. And you don't have to spend a lot of money in order to be successful in this business out of the gate, because it's a long-term career choice. This is not the stock market. You're not selling commodities, right? We're not selling bushels of bananas. We are selling the long-term career choice of selling to people that you can build a business with, people with, um, influence that you have in them in social arenas or at work or at church or somewhere where you get in contact with people. And I think you got to keep that in mind as we move forward in 2021. And I'll go over some of these protocols that I think are important in defining where you're going to get your business and who you are, because that defines where your business is going to come from and what you're going to do. So back number one with the chaos of real estate, it is chaos and there's a lot of things you can do and you want to stay away from the things you do wrong. I covered some of those in my last What's the Hype show about things to avoid, things not to do. And I'd be happy to talk to you about those anytime. But today we're going to focus on success and the protocol that you need. You need a system for success. It just doesn't come. I think somebody I was listening to the other day said, if you're sitting in your house watching Netflix and hoping that the version of Millionaire Real Estate Agent in HD TV is going to be your success story because you're sitting back and watching it, that's just not going to happen. You have to have some success items in your business plan moving forward. And I'm going to go over those today and what I think are important. I mean, you can listen to me, not listen to me. I'll love on you anyway. And as my coach says, whether you're right or wrong, whether you do or you don't, I still going to put this out there and hopefully it helps some of you and hopefully it spurns some questions. And, obviously I'm always available. If you have any questions, you can contact me directly anytime. So let's get into number 2 on the list of what's all the hype today on success protocols. So a protocol really is a system in place to handle what you need to do going forward, something you can rely on, something that says, if I got 5 listings today, do I have a system in place to handle all that? Or can I call someone to help me out, right? Leveraging people. But let's stick with the first item on the list that I've listed here for success protocol in 2021, which having a clear vision. So some people have been in the business a long time. Vision's pretty easy. I got my team. I know who I am. I've got my brand. I've got everything in place. So I'm just going to go about business a certain way based upon the data that says these types of homes are going to sell in this particular type of area. And this is what I'm going to go after. And I'm going to call my old clients. But you need a clear vision. If you don't have a vision of what your business looks like, then you need to start with your I am statement, who you are. It's very, very important. And I think the clear vision will come to you as we kind of roll through this. You get an idea of, what is my vision? Do I see myself as a real estate agent that maybe just refers business to other people? This is my vision of myself, an active, large team producing person where I am going to make my own team. I'm going to hire my first assistant and I'm going to go that route. Maybe I'm going to join a team. Maybe you're just going to join a team. Maybe the best place to do it because you're brand new is to join a team and fit a certain role and say, I'm going to be a buyer's agent. I'm going to learn how to be a buyer's agent on a large team and learn the ropes that way. But you have to have a vision in mind of what it looks like and not what it looks like not only today, but you got to be able to see what's going to happen in the next 12 months. What's going to happen in 3 years? Where do I want to be? How does my income look? What does success look for you? What does your career look like to you? And how can you articulate that to yourself? You need to write that down because the vision of who you are and what your business is huge. Because you look in the Millionaire Agent book that Keller Williams writes, brilliant book. There's so many choices of how you can lead your business. You have to pick the one that fits your vision. You have to pick the one that matches who you are. So a clear vision of what you're trying to understand, what you're trying to accomplish, I think that's really, really important. So keep that in mind. As always, having a good vision of where you're going keeps you on the path of making good choices of whether that's marketing and what you need. Now, number 2, surround yourself with a solid strategy. What do you need? What do I mean in a solid strategy? Well, first you have marketing, right? So you should be testing different types of marketing all the time. maybe 5 to 6, 7, maybe 10 different strategies all the time, different ones. Whether it's, I mean, maybe you buy leads. I mean, maybe you try that for a while. Maybe you're trying a beer and, or which I call a beer and coffee routine. I pick the top 40 out of my 400 top clients and make sure that I'm engaging them on a monthly, quarterly basis for a beer and coffee. Lately, it's been a lot of Zoom calls and pick up the phone and talk about things, but it's a beer and coffee. That's kind of one of my strategies that I use. But it fits my personality. I love having a, you know, having a beer or coffee with somebody, sitting down and talking with them about real estate or interest in what they're doing. Maybe I can help them a different way. Let me give you an example of that as I bring this up, because I was thinking about it last night, of what stories to tell to kind of promote, not promote, but to have you understand what I'm talking about. I met with one of the restaurant owners here locally in Long Beach just about a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And we were talking about his recent purchase and wanting to sell that as kind of a flip that commercial real estate down the road. But because of where we're at, and because restaurants are really in a bad spot right now, he was talking about an association that's going to help promote and protect the restaurant people. Well, I said, well, maybe that's how I can start helping you today. Maybe there's something in the association that I can do. Maybe I can join as a supporter of restaurants and businesses across the city of Long Beach. And maybe I can add value to the group in some way that would help you in the group. And then down the road, maybe you're earning your business with this new opportunity with the building that you have, maybe for sale or with a new operator, whatever that may look like down the road. And sure enough, he thought that was a really good idea. So I got involved with him, and I will be going to a meeting sometime in the first quarter to see what I can do to help some of these restaurant owners in any way I possibly can, whatever that may be. And in my background with finance and with running companies and doing other things, I've got a lot of resources that may be able to help them. Keep in mind, the vision for me is to sell commercial real estate and help people invest long-term, short-term in commercial real estate. That's my vision, and being there for people in that capacity. This meets that requirement down the road, but this is building that relationship. It doesn't give me a transaction today, but it allows me to help them and get involved with people, get to know more people. And that's just a small idea or example of how I get involved with people. Sometimes it's not even about real estate. It's about other things that I bring to the table. So you have to think in your vision, when you're writing your vision down, who you are, what else do you bring to the table? What other experiences in life have you used to be successful? And how connections you have maybe to help somebody out that maybe needs something. You know, in residential real estate, we talk a lot about, you know, people, plumbers, electricians, and things like that. Sometimes it's just a mere, you know, hey, if you go on vacation, you need someone to watch your pet. I know someone that can do it. I could do it. My 11-year-old loves to watch feed animals. Something that's totally non-related that you could help somebody else out and talk a little bit about real estate during that time that you're talking to them. So you got to think about a strategy that works for yourself. For me, I usually get in the door with people through non-related, non-real estate related topics, helping people out. Sometimes it's direct, but sometimes, you know, they need some help in some other fashion, some other part of their life that I can help them out, that I'd be a real good value of. But I do make a connection there, and don't misunderstand me. It's not always very altruistic, and I'm just going around helping people because I like doing that. I'm in the business of selling real estate, but I can add value to people, for people, by doing other things to get there. And that is kind of a larger, bigger picture than just yourself. And I like contributing to those things. Really, really important. So when you surround yourself with a strategy and understanding who you are, those choices become very clear to you. It's very, very important. They become clear to me. That's how I've generated my business today than where it was 2 years ago, for sure. So I think that with your strategy of marketing, 5 to 7 different, maybe 5 to 10 different items in your marketing arsenal is important. I think also using data and measuring what you do on a daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis is really important. A solid strategy of measurement is key. I can tell you that my measurement strategy has changed since I started this business, and I'm better for it. I measure lots of things now that I didn't measure before. I measure my phone calls. I keep track of the people I talk to, how many. I keep track of a lot of data that I do myself, and I really believe that what gets measured gets done. So that's one of the other strategies I surround myself with is measurement. And not to mention leveraging too, leveraging people around me to help other people, whether that's vendors, whether that's doctors, whatever they may be, and asking for help. Because sometimes people just want to help too. Like, hey, I've got a friend of mine that needs some help. Would you mind helping out? Not at all. I love doing that. Great. I'll give you a call this afternoon and we can discuss it. So having strategies in place are really important, but you have to pick the ones that work for you and the ones that work kind of organically that you're not forcing yourself to do. I always use the cold calling or the door knocking as my no way, no how, not going to happen. Now on cold calling for me on the commercial side, it works really, really well. I like it because I'm developing relationships with people that are it's kind of warm leads and stuff like that. But door knocking was really my favorite no because I never did it, didn't like it. I couldn't even get myself into the mode of knocking on someone's door and not knowing what to say. It just sounded weird to me. Now, mind you, I get it. I'm 6'3". I'm 65 pounds, probably a little heavier today with all this holiday food I've been eating. But I would get the door and I think, I probably feel more comfortable if I had a badge or a warrant or something here because I looked the part. I just never felt comfortable. So I talked myself right out of it, right? So I think you have to pick ideas that work for you, that fit your personality, that become organic, right? So that comes to number three. Number three on my list of success protocols for 2021 is employing practical systems, organic systems that work that you consistently do, systems that work for you and work for you well, things that you don't really have to try for. Things that say, you know what, this works really well for me. In fact, I was on a podcast the other day and Jason mentioned this beer and coffee thing. This really works. I get 2 appointments a day, 4 days a week. I'm talking to somebody over a drink or a cup of coffee in the morning or whatever it may be. And this really works for me and I really enjoy it. And I don't feel uncomfortable making that, that conversation about real estate. Because your job here, remember, with all this protocol and all this stuff that we got to do, remember your number one job in this business is to sell real estate. But your number one job here on a day-to-day basis with the work that you do is to get appointments with people. If you're not getting appointments with people, if you're not talking to them about real estate, you're not doing yourself justice. You're not doing yourself any favors by not doing the work. In this work, like Brian Buffini said, it's hard. There's nothing about this business that's easy. It's rewarding, but it's hard. If it weren't hard, we wouldn't have the turnover rates that we have for new licensees and so forth. If it were hard, more people would be making more money in their first year than they do now. It's a hard, long-term investment in yourself, this business. It is soul searching. It is soul crushing. It's everything, but the rewards on the backside of this work are greater than I can even describe in the short time that I have with you today. So I think if you employ practical systems that work for you, you make a list of them. If you go to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, there's a list. Just go down all of them and look at ones you think that make sense for you. Use those first. Because if you start using ones that fight you, like for me, door knocking, it's just not going to happen. I can see it in my brain. And I'm going to go over a little bit of that brain stuff in my bonus material, which I think you're going to really like. So surround yourself with the strategies that work, employ practical systems, ones that work organically, that are soft to the touch, easy for you to implement, that make sense, and reach out to people that have used them before and ask them how they do it well. Most important is look for other people that do that same type of work and they do it really, really well. It's really important because you don't need to reinvent the wheel. What you need to do is learn how to do it from someone else who's done it before. Maybe they can give you some of the ins and outs of, don't do this, do it this way. I did this way a long time ago, not doesn't work, so on and so forth. And they'll give you kind of their knowledge, their skills, and their abilities of experience so that you can maybe fast forward to get to the answers you need right away. Consistency, right? I can't say enough about consistency. A lot of people in this business will do things for a little bit of time, nothing will work, and then they quit. Then they'll try something else and they quit. You have to pick some things. Obviously, some things don't work. Obviously, they don't. And you have to go a certain amount of time and realize, hey, this isn't working for me. I need to change. That's why I say in some of the strategies that you use, you should be testing 5 to 10 marketing ideas or ways of marketing to your clientele. And if some things don't work, then you need to change them, not use them. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you need to know right away. And the only way to do it is to implement them and figure it out. But you need to execute testing your marketing consistently. Does that make sense? So yeah, you've got to do some solid strategy work with your marketing, but you have to consistently be testing. And if something doesn't work, throw it out, replace it with something else. And don't be afraid to come back to that one that didn't work before when the market changes. Because God knows that one thing you can count on this business is to embrace the change. Embrace it, hug it, give it a big smackaroo on the kiss on the lips, because it's going to change all the time. In fact, one of the things, I go off on this tangent, I lived in Long Beach my whole life, right? And 2nd Street has been a place where we could come back anytime, anywhere, and experience some of the same things we did for 30 or 40 years. That's changing. And if you don't embrace the change, you're not going to be along for the ride, and it's going to leave you behind. Well, in real estate, expect change all the time. All the time. It changes all the times. Forms change. God, COVID. Look at COVID. COVID produced like record numbers of forms in car in like days. It was like 25 new forms. We have to ask Rich, our broker. But yeah, it was just a lot. There's always change. There's always new things to learn. There's always excitement. There's always chaos. And you have to embrace that all the time. It's never come in the same old thing, nothing's changed. Things are changing all the time. And you have to keep up with all that. So if you're consistently moving your strategies and your systems on an ongoing basis, what does that look like real life? What am I talking about? Well, when I get to work every day, I have a list of calls that I'm going to make that I pre-plan the night before. Every day I come in and those calls get made. I always have a plan for the next day. Am I testing new strategies? Am I having those conversations? Yeah, stuff happens and you don't always get them all done, but you have to consistently be planning to implement those on a daily basis. And this isn't, I agree. I really agree with Keller Williams on this too, which is, you only need 3 or 4 hours of really smart, hard, diligent, consistent work per day, every day of the week, to make this a successful career choice for yourself. It's huge. And a lot of people think, oh, I got to be here for 12 hours a day. Well, when you get into your transactional stuff, we can get into that in the next time. Sometimes you can overwork yourself and get bogged down by the work of the business. But consistently for lead generation, you'd only be needing to doing it for 3 or 4 hours a day. It's not like you have to be there 8, 9, 12 hours a day trying to generate leads. If you do a really good job and you consistently do it over time, marketing, lead generation, you'll be successful. And you have to know that. That's really a really important part of the success protocol for 2021. It's very important. I just can't push that enough. And I would say that, it's always a good combination to have between the turtle and the rabbit, right? Turtle wins a race, but you have to have some energy of the rabbit to move forward and embrace some of this change quickly as it happens. So execute your systems and your strategies consistently. What are some of the consistencies that I see around say our office and people that I know in the business, advertising, marketing, social media, consistent messages all the time. There's an agent in our area that has one of the best calendars I've ever seen. Local artists, and the calendar is phenomenal, and it comes out every year, and it's great. It's a consistent. I look forward to the calendar. I don't even use a calendar like that anymore, but I really like the artist that does the work. It's a consistent brand. It's really good, for all the things that people do. That's one of the things I look forward to. I mean, calendar's been around a long time, but he put a different spin on it and put a localized touch on the calendar with the local artist. So I like that, for example. But it's consistent. I can count on it. Comes every December, and I can count on it like clockwork. And so, other things you can do consistently is be in contact with your title reps. Find out what they're seeing. What are they seeing out there? How are they interpreting some of the data that they see and all the transactions that they do, right? So if you do, if you imagine the transactions that they see, 1,000 a month. I mean, I don't know how many they do per month. They see a lot of information. Talk to them about it. What are they seeing? What challenges have they seen? Can you help any of their clients? But consistently be a part of all that information. So when you start thinking about it out loud and you start saying, hey, well, between my clear vision, surrounding myself with a solid strategy of what to do and how to do it, employing those systems practically. So, organically, ease of implementation, right? Things that work well for you. You're not trying to put the square peg in the round hole and vice versa. And then executing it consistently is huge. Now, number five is about being the consummate pro in 2021, right? In customer service. I agree with Brian Buffini on this one, and that is definitely about being the consummate pro. So in my mind, the consummate pro that sets you aside everybody, puts you above everybody else is two things. Is that you do what you say you're going to do, bottom line, all the time, and you return all your phone calls. You do those two things, and you're better than 99% of everybody in this business. You're top 1%. Someone says, hey, what do I do better than anyone else? Your go-to should be, I do what I say I'm going to do, and I return all of my phone calls. And by the way, we're going to be doing business together. I expect that same thing from you, Mr. Seller, Mr. Buyer. You set expectations that way because you're the professional. You're the person that does this for a living. You're the person that makes things happen, and you have to set your expectations with these people. In customer service, I think I heard this too, but I believe it, is that customer service is going to be huge because I think customer service has gone out the window. I think my experience alone is enough for me to believe it, but I've heard horror stories from people about not just our business, but businesses in general, that customer service has just not been good in our business and other businesses. Whether it's returning items that you bought online or even ordering from somebody something that you need specially made. You can really set yourself apart from everybody by paying attention to those two things and being the pro. Obviously you need to get business in the door and fill your funnel, but you need to give your people the kind of care and understanding that they need through this process. Now, customer service doesn't necessarily mean that you are doing the work, right? It doesn't mean that you have to spend your time, being the person that gives them all the customer service. It can be the people that you delegate to make sure that that's done. That's the big difference, is that this work doesn't have to fall on your shoulders. It can fall on the shoulders of other people around you. I mean, for example, hey, I tell you what, I'm stuck in a meeting right now and I can't get a hold of anybody. And I got to get a hold of this one person to give them some information. Maybe call your title rep and say, hey, would you mind calling my client and just say you're part of our team? You want to reach out because this hasn't happened. Would you mind taking care of that? Or your transaction coordinator, or even your lender that is doing the deal. You have to incorporate the fact that, If you're taking care of business, sometimes you're not the person doing the work, which is fine. But as long as the client feels like they're being taken care of, that's what you want to have happen. You can't let these people out there not feel like they're being, well, one, they can trust you, and two, that you can take care of them. So very, very important. I think it's more important than people think, and it's not very hard. It's not very hard to return your calls. In fact, I missed a call for one of my mastermind groups. I missed a call from one of our members that called me, and I felt terrible about it. I gave her a call like I don't know, 3-4 days later. I don't even know how I missed a call. I have no idea, but I owed her a phone call. And I just said, I really apologize for not giving you a call back. Not sure how I missed it, but I owed you a phone call. Give me a call. Have you been taken care of? She needed some help with something, and I wasn't there for her. Well, I messed up. But hey, there's always tomorrow. Apologize for your mistakes and move forward. Very, very important, huge part of this business is understanding that you don't have excuses. You just apologize for the mistakes you made and you move forward. So on number 6 for success protocols is answering these 3 questions. As my coach always says, get ready to write this down. Even if you're not writing something down, write this down, which I really like. I think it goes really well. You have to answer these questions for yourself, and no one can do it for you. Where am I now? Where are you now in regards to production, your business, your marketing, your leverage? Where are you emotionally? Where are you now? You need to know where you're at. Number 2 question you need to answer yourself before the beginning of 2021. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to be, right? Where do I want to go? How many homes do I want to sell? How many people do I want to help? How many appointments do I want to have, right? And then 3, how do I get there? Do I do it by myself? I can answer that question. No. You're not meant to do this thing by yourself, by the way. So if you think you got to put it on your own shoulders, you're not meant to do that. So you can just throw that away. You're supposed to reach out to others for help. You're supposed to reach to others to help you get there. Because if you take this all on by yourself, you're going to be burdened, and it's just going to put you in a place where you're not going to feel like you're having success, and that just goes downhill, right? That's door number 3. You don't want to pick 3 because that's all by yourself. You want 1 and 2, where there's lots of people to help you. There's more people to help teach you, more people you can reach out to, right? And in Keller Williams, you can reach out to anybody in the office, right? We're about helping each other. Your team lead, your OP, your MCA. I love all the acronyms, but yeah, you can do that and make sure you're doing that. So answer these questions. Where am I now? Where do I want to go? And how do I get there? And you need to answer those questions before 2021 so you can put plans in place for your clear vision, your strategies, your employment of your systems, right? How am I going to get it done and doing it consistently? And I know it can seem daunting, but it's necessary. It's really necessary because interest rates apparently are going to stay low until 2023, according to the Fed. We're not going to have any onslaught of product anytime soon. So demand's going to be high, and there's going to be no homes to sell everybody. So we're going to be in a good spot there. This is going to be a good opportunity. I agree. I'm of the opinion that we need to make as much money as we can in the next year or 2, because if you've never been part of a downturn, there's money to be made there, but that's a whole different strategy. That's a whole different practical set of systems and a whole different level of executing consistently. Let me tell you, been through it, and it's different. So take advantage of these times where people are eager, lenders are eager, and interest rates are phenomenal. On a side note, for measuring and coaching, I think that's really, really important. It's part of the protocol for success for 2021, but it's always the protocol. Measuring what you do. If you're not measuring, you just have to find yourself in a place where you need to find out. They say like getting on a scale in the morning, measure your weight. Well, It's the same thing in real estate. You got to measure what you do. And if you're not measuring, you're just avoiding the truth. It's like I got on the scale the other day and thought, wow, this is interesting. So, it keeps me honest. Measuring keeps you honest. It puts it out there, shows exactly what you're doing. And if you don't know how to measure, what to measure, reach out to a coach, right? Reach out to someone in the business that can show you how to keep it simple, but to measure what you do and how you do it well. And then I know people talk about this all the time. And over my career, I always wondered, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? But you need a coach. As a guy who played sports most of my life, had coaches my whole life, right? And then when I got out of playing sports, I had no coaches. And I realized that having a coach has been all the difference in my business this last 2 years. And it took me a long time to change my mind about that for one reason or another. Maybe I thought I couldn't afford it. Maybe there's a lot of reasons, right? But I think you need to get a coach, and it's really, really important. In fact, I got a coach from my son, my youngest son. I got a coach for because he's distance learning. He's not playing sports, and all he has is his mom and me and his teachers. And I felt like he needed a coach, a tutor, right, to come in. But I bought a coach that basically had a sports background that made more sense for him. There's a question here. Is there a question, Deborah? What's the question? Am I reading it? It disappeared. You're muted.
Got it. Okay. Sorry, the question is coming from the West Side office. They said, should a brand new agent be focusing on building a database or marketing or both?
Well, database is huge, and it should just come naturally, right? As you meet more people, you should start building that database. The only way you're going to get a database built is by marketing. I mean, you got your sphere of influence, right? So those people automatically go into your database. Then you got people you reach out to. Anytime you reach out to someone, that's marketing. I mean, I keep this stuff really simple. So you need to do both, is the answer to your question, right? I mean, you've got a database, you got to pick CRM that works for you because you got to keep in contact with these people, and your Outlook calendar is not good enough. So you have to pick one that works for you and test a couple, right? And then marketing, the more data that you collect and you pinpoint that information that you're marketing to your database, you get. So you have both. You have your database, marketing to your database, and marketing people outside. So do both. Do both. There's no reason that you can't. And if you're having trouble, reach out to your MCA. Reach out. And, I'm always available. But there's lots of people that can help you with that. So last two things I want to cover on here, we got about 15 more minutes, is about time management. I've covered this before, but I think it's really, really important. And I believe in energy management. My coach brought this to my attention, and I really like it. And basically, I'm not managing my time. I'm asking the question, is this worth my energy? Is this worth it? So everything that goes on my calendar is two things: it'd be either appointments or personal stuff for my kids, family, whatever it may be. And I really manage my energy. Where does my energy go? I used to do a lot of time blocking, for things on my calendar. And I found what I had was a really, really pretty calendar. And when I started focusing on what my energy goes to and managing my energy on my to-do items, I knew exactly what I needed to do, who I needed to call. I knew what goals to set. And I knew that I had to get in the morning or in the evening to make those calls. I didn't have to set aside time. I knew exactly what I needed to do. And so I just knew that I couldn't schedule things in those times unless it was necessary. And there was something else that took my energy that was worth that more than, let's say, making my calls. But I know that already intrinsically. You do too. Trust yourself. Because when you're managing your time, your energy, and not your time, You have to trust yourself that you know what you're doing. If you have to be one of those people that sets up, I'm going to 8 to 10, I'm going to market. Okay, then do that. But manage your energy in that time well. Spend the time on phone calls that make sense to you, that are part of your system. Because if you don't manage your energy well, there's certain people and things and activities that can drain your energy and take it all from you. And that's a real big problem in this business, because this business will chew you up and spit you out if you don't protect yourself and trust yourself. Trust, you know who to ask, to ask the good questions and what you need for yourself in this business. Because 2021 is going to be, it's going to be a grind for sure. But I think there's a lot of money to be made. And I think there's a lot of opportunity. And I think there's more opportunity now with the COVID epidemic has created more opportunity for people, because people are home and they're doing things differently and they're outside of their normal routines. And the old routines of last year are different, or I should say the year before, right? In 2019, we're almost done with this year. And I think, is it worth your energy is a really good way to look at it and manage, because otherwise you're just managing time, and if you're not doing things that are fulfilling your energy, or I shouldn't say fulfilling, that are not wasting your energy, it's just really important to know the difference. So as far as protocols for success, that's kind of my opinion about what you need to be doing for 2021. The bonus material is something that I learned from one of my coaching sessions here recently, and I want to go over it with you. And it's about fear. And I think people don't talk about it enough. And I think when I heard it, I didn't realize some of the fears that I needed to still overcome. And I think it's really important that you hear this. So the bonus material is basically this. It fits along the lines of success protocol, but I call it fear-based protocol. And what that means is that you have certain things in your day in real estate that you don't do. And it's not that you don't do them because you don't know how to do them. It's because you do them because you fear something. And this is a belief system, obviously. If you don't believe that you're fearful of anything, then, good luck. But I think everyone fears something. A lot of things. Fear of not being perfect, fear of not saying the right thing, fear of doing the wrong thing, fear of not making the right decision, right? And what happens when you're fearful of something? Some people procrastinate. Some people tackle that fear without thinking first. There's just a lot of things that can happen. If you don't have a system in place to deal with your fear, you're never going to make a phone call. You're never going to reach out to Deborah Bell to say, Deb, I need some help. You're never going to do some things if you are fearful, or you make up in your mind a reason not to do it, which I consider to be something fear related. So as I learned, I'm going to teach you right now. I'm going to tell you a great way to change the way that you handle your fear, and a protocol for success that you can implement today. And if you do it consistently over the next 3 months, it'll change the way you think about it, and you won't even notice that you fear it anymore. And it has to do with language, thought, and writing. And so what I do is that if I fear something, if something comes up and say, wow, I'm really afraid if I do this, I'm not going to do it right. So I'm going to procrastinate, or I'm going to do something. I write it down. I'm afraid that I'm not going to do this at 100% perfection, and I'm going to do it anyway. So when I come across, you have to know yourself pretty well. But if you come across that feeling, that anxiety, like, I don't want to pick up the phone today. Ooh, I don't want to have the coffee. I don't want to call. I don't want to talk to that guy. It's really fearful today, or whatever you may be feeling. You write it down. I am afraid that I'm not going to get this right, and I'm going to do it anyway. You write it down and you read it out loud to yourself. And you do that consistently with all the things you come across. Now, what's really funny is if you take this seriously, it'd be amazing for you to see how many things you come across on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that you fear not doing right, or you fear just altogether, like, oh no. I'm not going to do that. I don't do that. There's no way I can get on the phone to do that. Nope, 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 nope. Do it anyway. Now, that doesn't mean that if, like for me, door knocking, for example, that's not effective for me. I don't fear door knocking. I just don't feel like it's an effective tool for me. I think I can do other things better. So I fear door knocking, and I'm going to direct market or cold call on the phone anyway. Does that make sense? So you have to recognize the fear, and you got to recognize it, write it down, and read it out loud. And just go back to some things in the last week that you haven't done, that you've been fearful of, and write it down, say it out loud, and see what happens. I guarantee it'll be a game changer for you. It was a game changer for me. It was an amazing, amazing thing that I learned, and I wanted to share it with all of you because I really think it's an important part of this business that we have a system in place to deal with the fears that we have in order to move forward. I think I heard it in a Tony Robbins seminar one time expressed in a way that, basically someone going to go out and exercise, right? They get the right shoes and they get the right pants and they get the right earbuds and they get everything's just perfect. They get the right phone and everything's perfect, sunglasses and socks, the whole thing. But you got to get out there and you've got to go running. You've got to go walking, right? In order to get in shape, to lose weight or whatever, better health, right? Well, this is kind of along that same lines, but it's a mechanism you can use every day and writing it down when you come across it. You can use in your personal life. I mean, I don't need to draw examples there, but use it to your advantage so that you can, in 2021, you can overcome the chaos of everything we talked about today. You can overcome it and put it into your playbook for success protocols in a way that will make things that you didn't do last year easier to do this year. And like I said, if you do it over a 3-month period of time, apparently that's what all the doctors and people that study brains, and that's what they say. Over 3 months, it actually changes the way your brain works, and it helps it not fight the left and the right brain together. And I'm not a doctor, so I don't know how to really explain it very well, but that's what they say. And I believe it. And it helped me just when I learned it just recently, how to use it more effectively with some of the things that I worry about and the things that keep me from doing some of the things I should be doing or want to do. And I really hope that that helps you moving forward in this business of real estate, this business of chaos, that you have protocols in place that you can rely on, people that you can rely on, the measurements of your business, the measurement of your success, and making it all happen. So I hope that this has been helpful for all of you. It's always helpful for me to teach because I get better at what I'm doing. And I remember that I've got to do a few more things on my list of protocols and get my ship in order too. So I hope it was helpful. Are there any more questions? Anything else I can answer for you today?
I don't have any other questions showing here.
Okay.
Doesn't seem, but Jason, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being there every month for these guys, and you're always a wealth of information. I know that there's always takeaways from your presentation, so thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. Look forward to it, and we'll see you in January for What's All the Hype.
Yes, 2021.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.